You're watching the Hutchinson County Podcast, your source for local conversations that matter. Today, we're talking with political candidates about the issues, priorities, and leadership shaping Hutchinson County. Our goal is simple: fair questions, equal access, and to inform voters. Chris Prock, thank you for joining us this afternoon down here at Icy Bites. Thank you for setting that up. I showed up and they said you'd already reserved and everything. So
Yeah, I want to say a special thank you to them. They're just a quick commercial to say they're in South McGee, so come out, have some hot chocolate, have some tea. It's a great business. So
very great business, very nice, very friendly folks. So we'll start with the first question. All right, probably this is easy. What motivated you to run for Hutchinson County Commissioner? You're already commissioner, so basically you still want the job, kind of.
absolutely. So I moved back here probably about 11 years ago. I moved back here, opened a clinic, a chiropractic clinic on Main Street. That was the summer in 2015. The wall of the library in the back room, the club room, fell and collapsed into the alley. And I would drive to work every day, and they removed the debris from the wall, but they didn't cover it. It was exposed to the elements outside, and I just started wondering what the process was. How are they handling this? What's going on? Are we going to fix it? What the timeline is? And so I started going to those meetings just for my information. Instead of just getting mad and posting on Facebook negativity, I just wanted to take a step and figure it out on my own. So I started going to those meetings, started seeing how they were meeting with the contractors, how the decisions were being made. And I went to those meetings for 2 years. I started getting interested in the process. Just really enjoying it. And I started feeling called that this could be something I could serve my community in. And after a lot of prayerful consideration, I decided to run after those 2 years of meetings. And I just wanted to bring an approach of just being accessible to the taxpayer and the residents, trying to give as much information to them as possible, just promote and also promote the conservative values that we live here in Hutchinson County. And so I've been blessed to have been commissioner, like you said, and looking for a re-election for another term.
All right, what are the experiences best prepares you to serve in this role?
So the first time that I ran, I leaned into the small business ownership that I had and being a healthcare provider. That taught me a lot about budgeting, accountability, problem solving, things like that. And also serving the community. And well, in nonprofits, a lot of times you need to listen to the problems and act with common sense when you find out what the solution is to be. So I leaned into those values when I ran the first time. But obviously, this time that I'm running this time, the best experience that I have is probably doing the actual work. Sitting down with the actual budget, the actual numbers, working with our elected officials, our department heads, and just doing the actual work that I was elected to do. During that time, the last 4 or 5 years, we've dealt with historic inflation, COVID, wildfires. Times they've been extremely tough for several years. And being commissioner during those times, it really gave me a lot more experience just leading through those tough times and delivering visible results that the taxpayer can see. I couldn't have gained that anywhere else. I couldn't have gained that experience in simple times. And so, they say it's easy to lead when the times are simple, but you see what the leaders can really do during difficult times. I do think that's true. And so that experience, along with just taking it seriously, like I said, I went for 2 years before I decided to run, and then there was another year. So I went to the meetings for 3 years before I was even sworn into being a commissioner. And I've attended every meeting. Since I've been sworn in, I haven't missed a single meeting. I take it seriously. I show up. I'm present. And I've been to almost 250 meetings. And so that experience working with the commissioners and the judge is hands down. There's not a substitute for that.
I understand, just hands-on experience that shows leadership when times are tough and that see how you handle the situations. And yes, Hutchinson County, I do agree with just the wildfires alone, that issue I've dealt with. It's terrible, been some rough times. All right, now what are the top 3 issues facing Precinct 4 today?
So I've got to say the first one, obviously, we were just talking about the times are tough. We've seen a surge in our property values, which I'll explain a little later, kind of how the differences between the taxing entities and the tax rate. But we've seen a surge in our property values going up the last several years. My house went up almost 50% the last couple of years, and so our money, our hard-earned money, is really critical. It needs to stay in our pockets as much as possible, and we're stretched thin. And so, on the commissioner side of that, the biggest issue for me is the budgeting. It's it's making sure that we do responsible budgeting and we have tax relief as much as possible for our taxpayers. And so that's number one. That's the biggest critical aspect. Number two is infrastructure. You know, if our buildings are falling apart and our citizens aren't safe inside to receive the services, then I mean, we're not doing our job. That's not being fiscally conservative. That's just neglecting the duties that we need to have for these buildings. And so we've got to invest into our facilities and ensure that those services can be provided to our residents, you know, completely safely and as much as, you know, just as safe as possible. And probably the third one, I'd probably say the county roads. You know, the city limits, most of my paved roads are in the city limits, so we don't deal with that. But in the northeast corner, we've got agricultural, we've got farmland up there, and so those roads up there, maintaining those, that's the residents' livelihood. And so making sure that they have access to bring in their product to market, to be able to come in and, you know, shop and dine locally, and just to be able to know that the first responders can be out there safely as well and quickly. That's I'd say the county roads are third.
A lot of people don't know about that. You talk about that northeastern county. It's a whole different ball game and rolls right down there into adobe walls and kind of a different. And yeah, I do appreciate the smooth roads, especially the job that I do, and I'm actually familiar with that area. So kind of an issue. It's incredible. People don't realize what's up there in that northeastern county. Okay, the next question: how would you prioritize those issues if elected? I think you've kind of touched on that, but we can elaborate more.
Absolutely. So yeah, you know, as commissioner, I am prioritizing those currently. Number one, the budget. You know, we need to meet with these elected officials and the department heads to make sure we're being responsible for that money. You know, we need to ask questions. A lot of times they tell us, you know, a lot of times those department heads and elected officials know more about their job, and well, I say a lot of times, all the time, those elected officials and department heads know more about their job than we do as commissioners. And so we rely on them to relay that information to us to where we can make an educated guess on where we're going to put that money, and an educated decision on where we can justify that to our taxpayers. You know, I'll talk about it in a little bit how we used to do the budget session when I first started, but just that's the priority that I put in there, is that communication with the department heads and other commissioners and judges, where we share a vision, we try to see where we're going to go the next year while being fiscally responsible with the taxpayer money. It's on the infrastructure. It's my job to deal with the facilities for the library and the museum. And so, like I said, we need to invest in capital improvements to these facilities where they're not falling apart, they're not dilapidated, and ensure the citizens are safe. And so during my time there, I was able, over the last couple of years, we've invested over $300,000 in grant funds that we put directly into the museum and the library, replacing the roofs, waterproofing foundations, putting LED lights in, things that just benefit the taxpayer, and we didn't put any burden on the taxpayer for that. And so that's huge to me. I'm proud of that. They're still a work in progress. Those buildings are super old, but I'm proud of what we've done there, and it is a priority for me because those residents need those services in the library. A lot of them go to use the internet in the library, check out books, and that if the library is falling apart, there's not another place really that can compare for them. And lastly, you know, the road and bridge crew that we have in Hutchinson County is incredible. I've got a lot of residents that will give me a call and they'll see something that they need to tell me that has happened. And so I call Dwayne or somebody on the road and bridge crew, and a lot of times they already know that it's going on. They already have it on a list. They already have it on their to-do list. If it's an emergency thing, you know, they put it on their list and they find a solution and they get out there and they usually get it done. I trust those guys. I trust the work that they do, but I always follow up. I always call the residents and just make sure that they're happy with the work. And our road and bridge crew, I mean, they've got a great batting average on that. They do the job that they're hired to do, and they make it a priority. And I'm proud to work with them and getting that done.
All right. How would you describe your leadership style?
So I'd say I'm an active listener and a problem solver. If you've watched the meetings, you see that I ask a lot of questions. I want to be as informed as I can. I want to interact with the person relaying that problem, concern, that person relaying the line item for the budget. I want to ask questions and then sit back and listen and have them help me make that decision. So That's my leadership style in that. I think if we can guide each other to make those decisions and justify those decisions to the taxpayers, it makes us all look educated. And while working together and being and just communicating, when we surround ourselves with strong leaders that know more than we do, we can all learn from each other. And so as we learn from each other, our weaknesses become strengths, and we all kind of rise together. I'd also say, as a leader, I try to put working hard alongside people first and foremost. If I can't lead by working hard, whether that's being an Easter bunny, honoring a friend that we lost a couple of years ago, tearing down tables after an event, taking the trash out, things like that, I can't expect other people to work hard. And so I try to roll my sleeves up. I try to work alongside the other people that are at the county and just show that we all working hard. I mean, we all got a job to do, and we can help each other get it done.
Okay, I think you've touched on this a little bit, but we'll go ahead and how would you approach managing the county's budget responsibility?
So
Responsibly, my bad.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good, absolutely. So this is the most important aspect of being a commissioner. The budget is the majority of what we do. And so I treat tax dollars like they're my own. You can ask my fiance, I'm a penny pincher when it comes to things a lot of times. So I treat the tax dollars like it's coming out of my own pocket. And if you don't give me a good reason, if I don't see it's a need and not a want, I'm not gonna get that dollar approved. And so I think we've got to do that, especially in these hard economic times. It's getting a little better the last couple of years, but even when the economic times are good, we still have to have that mindset. And so I strive to cut waste. I want to plan ahead, and I focus on those needs and not wants, like I said. And so at the end of the day, I have to look the taxpayer in the eye and tell them why I'm spending that dollar or why I'm not spending that dollar. And so if I can't relay that to them, I have no reason to be on that court. And so, like I said earlier, I ask questions. I want to make informed decisions. I want to be able to look at the end of the day in the taxpayer's eyes and tell them why or why not I supported something. I think that's just something that's important, being transparent and being accessible to others. And so I was mentioning this earlier, I want to talk about kind of how the budget sessions were going. And so when I first got elected, and this is not nefarious, this isn't saying anybody was wrong in the past. I respect the previous judges and commissioners. So anybody out there that's previously there, this isn't an attack. I think we should always strive to do things a little different. And this is just my kind of how I want to just relay that. So we used to do budget sessions by sending an email out and just saying, let us know what you need and if there's any changes needing to be in the budget. And a lot of times they would just email it back and say, no, we're good, carry over the numbers, no changes, we're good. And it would be rubber stamped, it would be approved, and no questions were asked. Nobody asked, well, you got computers last year, so maybe we can cut that line item and save a little money of this. We just carried it over, set the tax rate, and that's how it was decided. And I really didn't like that. Me and Commissioner Herbst that we lost a couple of years ago, we sat down, we started asking questions. Started saying, can we start having these meetings with the department heads and elected officials to ask why, and not in an attacking way. At first it was seen personal, very attacking. We're all territorial. We've got a lot of Indian chiefs under tents, and so it was something that was seen kind of head to head. But the last couple of years, we've really brought morale up, and people have seen that it's not an adversarial meeting. It's just, hey, come to us, tell us why you need this money. Tell the taxpayers why you need this money, to where we can say, we understand what this is, why this was approved, why this wasn't approved. And so the last couple of years, we've had those department head meetings, we've had those elected officials come and talk to us, and it's been great. I'm better educated on what they do and what they need to do their services, and I'm better educated on how I can help support them do their job. And so that cutting out the fluff and the what ifs, we've dropped tens of thousands of dollars from those budgets by just communicating. And so that responsible budget management with communication is huge. And I want to continue that going forward as well.
So what is your stance on county taxes and spending? I think you just mentioned all that. You just answered that question. Yeah. So we go unless you got something else to add.
I do want to kind of talk about that a little bit because it is a little different. Budgeting and taxing is different. So I I always tell people, I learned this several years ago from actually Kel Seliger. He tells us, your taxes could go to zero, but you're not going to have any services. You're not going to have a jail. You're not going to have law enforcement. You're not going to have museum, airport, court services. You're not going to have anything, road and bridge. You're not going to have any county services. And so while I do believe that property taxes are theft sometimes, I don't agree with that program. There's not a better system in place. And so I want to do what's best with this broken system responsibly, and just, we want to keep the taxes as low as possible, but provide the full services that we offer. And so I do want to explain, in the elections, commissioners, we always talk about taxes and tax rates. And you'll see elections all across the state that talk about candidates coming forward and promising, I'm going to lower taxes, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this great job. But they never tell you how, and they never tell you what the current administration is doing, what they're doing wrong, and how they're going to improve it. So I really think it's important to peel back that curtain. I was talking about being accessible and accountable and transparent. A lot of us don't even understand how the taxes are made. So I do want to break that down real quick. The property value increase that we've seen over the last couple of years, that's from a state agency that we have nothing to do with. And so that's the appraisal district. They set your property values on your homes and businesses. And like I said, my house went up 50% over the last couple of years. And so we've had a lot of increase in our tax value. And so what happens is they'll send those values to us. We meet with the department heads and elected officials on what they need in their budget. We have the total budget we need, and then we set the tax rate based on that. So the commissioner's court is responsible for the tax rate. And when I first started, we were able to kind of freeze that tax rate for the first 3 years. In the last 4 years, we've actually lowered that tax rate, and we're one of the only counties in Texas that we can say that we've done that. In the midst of all of that inflationary costs that people have seen, eggs and gas going up, we see that too in our services. We have materials, our gas, our services increase too. But even in those hard times that we had to face, we still lowered the tax rate 4 years in a row. And so that's one thing to, you'll see people making campaign promises and telling people they're going to lower taxes. It's another thing for an incumbent to actually have done it 4 years in a row in the midst of such difficult times.
Well, that's the go-to. I mean, we're going to lower taxes and do everything. If you ever run for anything public office, you're going to change the world, and that's usually the first thing.
And that's why it's easy.
Everybody goes.
It's easy to say you're going to do this stuff, but the real testimony is when you actually get in there, what have you done and what are you going to do? And so I'm really proud of the work that, and it's not just me, the work of the other 3 commissioners and the county judge. We have fought hard with the elected officials and the department heads to lower those taxes to where we're all taxpayers. We know that it's coming out of our pockets too, so we take it seriously. So I'm proud to say, it's not just a promissory statement. It's not just fluff and circumstances, pomp and circumstances. It's actual results, and I'm proud of that.
All right, where can the county operate more efficiently?
So like I said, the last couple of years we've kind of started meeting with those elected officials and department heads, and so the most efficient use of that is just the communication. We get together, we talk about those services, better educates us. We started being on Zoom and on YouTube during COVID, and that is huge because I can point to a certain meeting, I can send the YouTube link to our constituents when they have a question or they have a problem, or if they, it's small town, so when they hear, hey, I heard you said this, or I heard you had this belief, or I heard you voted this way, I can send them that link and say, well, watch for yourself, check it out, let me know what you think, and after they watch it, they're better informed. And so the most efficient way we can do is continue that accessibility, that transparency, meeting with the budget, the department heads, the elected officials, reviewing those programs, seeing where we might be able to save money this year, and if they need it the next year, put it in the budget when we need to. And at the end of the day, just to know that efficiency doesn't mean we're going to cut programs. Efficiency means being responsible with those resources so we still provide the programs, but we're able to cut costs.
Okay, what infrastructure or road projects are most important in Precinct 4?
So as I said earlier, my paved roads in the city are city limits, and so within the city border, and so they are responsible for that upkeep, and so thankfully we don't have to deal with that a whole lot. My main county roads are up in the northeast corner that we talked about earlier. It's a lot of dirt road and caliche roads, and so getting the agricultural access up there is huge, and so that's a huge one. We've already talked about that, so I won't dive too much into that. We've talked about the infrastructure at the museum and the library, so I won't talk too much about that as well. The biggest infrastructure we probably have in the future is going to be the jail. 10 years ago, when I started going to those meetings, there were a lot of problems going on in the jail. We were having to ship inmates to other jails because certain areas were closed and it wasn't able to be open, and so we were spending a lot of money outsourcing those. We've got a commissioner over at right now that has done great. We've got a jail captain and a previous commissioner that did great. We have a jail captain that's great. Their crew is awesome. A sheriff that's overseen it, and we've done a great job about getting it where we need to do with where we need to be with upgrades and passing inspections currently. But jails, they're used 24 hours a day, and it's going to wear out one day. And so we have to be mindful right now of that jail. We just recently, a couple of months ago, we added $5 million into a building fund, and so we're going to add to that every year some of the money that we can, to where when it comes time to needing a new jail, there's a vision and a plan, and we don't just have to react by getting a huge bond obligation to our taxpayers. And so that's the biggest infrastructure need, I think, right now, that we have to have a vision for long term, whether that's, I don't even want to say 5 years, hopefully 25 years, but whether that's 5 years, whether that's 10, 15, 20, we have a vision and we have a purpose to go towards building a new jail and not just being reactive and putting all that on the taxpayers.
Very good. How should the county support rural services and emergency preparedness?
So here in Hutchinson County, our dispatch, we have a central dispatch that's located in Borger. When a call goes in, they take it, and all of our agencies across the county are connected to dispatch, and so they'll see the location and they'll see the need and what asset is best to dispatch to that position. And so having that centrally located is a huge benefit for our county, because we have miles and miles of county road, and we have people way out in the rural areas, and so every second matters in emergency. So we contract with, we kind of share costs that dispatch, and so we do support that and make sure that operates as efficiently as possible. With the ARPA funds that we got, we were able to invest $500,000 in outdoor warning sirens to make sure that if people are outside, they know that something's going on. They get a heads up and they go inside. We replaced several that weren't working, and we upgraded that to make sure that our citizens were safe whenever we need to give them a warning. The radio upgrades, we had radios. We spent $400,000 of grant funds that we upgraded radios to where the signal, we've got a lot of canyonous terrain and a lot of rough terrain that when people get down, we lose signal a lot of times. And so those radios the radios being upgraded help our road and bridge, they help our first responders, and it's huge. It connects us actually to several counties around the Panhandle as well, and gets us on their networks, where if we need something in Potter, Randall County, and they need something from us, they can get it right there. The fire last year was a huge example, because we had dozens of agencies coming in, and so they could kind of tune in with our radio, but we also gave some of our radios to them to where they can hear. And if we didn't have that radio system in place at that time, I don't know what would have happened. And so a couple other things. I hate to be long-winded about this, but there's so many things. Every year we contract around $250,000 for our first responders. It's Stinnett, Fritch, Borger. We have the Crutch Ranch for fire. We were just able to bring in a couple months ago. We lost Skellytown for a little bit just due to some legislative stuff, but we were able to bring them back just recently. And we're super blessed with that, because out in our county area, as I said earlier, every second matters. Between life, it's life or death sometimes. And so we contract with them to where we can get those first responders wherever it is. They can get the closest one that we can send out. We work with the city of Borger on the fire mitigation plan. Every 5 years we pass a mitigation plan that works with all the cities, a lot of the refineries, the schools, and it's over 100 pages. I think we last approved it in 22, and I think it's every 5 years. And it's just what happens if something as simple as a flood or tornado or the dam fails. We have a dam failure, or God forbid, a gas explosion. It's a plan that we have a plan for everything and how it's going to unfold, but where we can put the tire to the asphalt when we need to. Hopefully we don't have to in a lot of those situations, but we have a plan ready to go if we do. And last but not least, as commissioner and just an individual, I go through trainings with TDM and emergency management just to try to offer my services best I can. If there's a need, like with the fires, we had an emergency manager, Jerry Langwell at the time, he's now sheriff. I reached out to him and said, let me know if you need anything. And so I spent several days with him at Incident Command, just taking small things off his plate because we were overwhelmed. That is a disaster I don't want to ever have to see again. But we're overwhelmed. And so anything that I can offer to take off the plate of those that are working hard and know more than me about that, I want to be able to do. And so it's extremely important for me to be prepared for emergencies, support the rural services, and I'm getting certified through TDM with that just so I can offer that just on my own, or on my own as an individual commissioner.
I just want to say that overwhelmed might be an understatement for you. You have two different fires hit two different parts of the counties almost simultaneously. It was just a bad situation to live through, and hope we never see that in our lifetime.
But the great thing was there were so many entities, everyone dropped what they were doing, and they just said, how can I help? And it speaks to the testament of who Hutchinson County is, the type of people we have. They didn't care about religion, politics, race, any of that stuff. They wanted to say, how can we help? And we're overwhelmed with donations. I mean, it was a great response in a terrible situation, but it makes me proud to be back here in a county that has that type of people.
Oh, I totally understand. One of my mom's neighbors, he said he needed an ice chest. The next day he had 6 of them. Yeah. And he lived kind of in Scotts Acres. That wasn't overlooked by a lot of people in a lot of other areas, but the neighborhood actually stepped up out there and helped a lot of them folks out there. And then other people, a personal story on that part. Awesome. So we'll go to the next question. How can Hutchinson County encourage economic growth without burdening taxpayers?
So economic growth in the county is it's very complex because a lot of our land out in the county is privately owned or it's got the riverbed. I mean, there's a lot of terrain that just can't be developed on. And so a lot of my main vision on this is not necessarily to drive the economic growth, but it's to support the economic growth. And we do that by a couple of things. First, the fiscal responsibility, like we talked about, by keeping the taxes as low as possible, we enable the businesses and the citizens to save some money and to invest it more in their businesses and just locally, like to shop local and to continue supporting that economic growth from within. The infrastructure, like we talked about, if we don't have good roads, people can't get to our shops, can't get into the cities. So we've got to make sure they have the infrastructure possible to get in and support the businesses here. And partnerships. And the development is mostly in cities. And so we have EDCs, economic development corporations, that draw and attract businesses here. And so we've got to support those. We rely on those, chambers, and just private landowners if they want to start a business out there too. So we rely on that to try to bring in the economic growth and not to drive it, but just promote it that way. On our end, we have business regulations. We're kind of looking into trying to make sure that we are friendly if there is a private business that wants to go in. Don't put a lot of red tape on them, see how much we can, but also how much we can support them. But also, we want to make sure that we have good businesses coming in. When I first started, it was a race to get gaming room resolutions drafted, and so I did that. Brought it to the court, and we sponsored that, and it essentially banned game rooms in the county out in the outskirts. Some of the city of Borger, I know they raised some of their fees and stuff, and so they're looking to go out into the county. And so we put that pencil to paper, made that a thing, drafted that resolution. We kind of protected our citizens by, a lot of the game rooms themselves might seem innocent, but there's a lot of illicit, illegal activity that goes on in there with drugs and theft. And so that's another thing that I'm happy about, that we were able to stop kind of bringing in some illegal activities.
So that basically you ruined my side hustle there, Chris. That just for the just kidding.
It's not that far away.
Tampa's not. Yeah, y'all go over to Gray County and take over. No, I just.
County, you'll take it out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, how will you stay accessible and accountable to constituents?
So I don't mean this in like a bragging way or anything, but I being in the community is important to me. I announce games at FPC. I work with Snack Pack. I'm in Lions Club. Being a part of the community is essential to my survival and being who I am. And so if people see, I have patients come in and we talk county business sometimes if they want to. I try not to bring it up, but if they bring it up, we talk about it freely. If I'm in the grocery store, and this is a side note, and it's no offense if anybody uses the contactless delivery. It's a great thing, but I don't like using that because I like going into the grocery stores. I like looking at the cashiers, making small talk with them, getting to know them, seeing my constituents, seeing just my friends out there, and just being there when they need it. And so I always give my phone number out. It's on my website. I'll give it out right now. It's 806-395-5006. Call or text me anytime. It's extremely important to be accessible, and I will always be accessible. I'll never shut that door, because if I shut that door, then I'm not being a true representative for our taxpayer.
Also, if you like arena football, I heard you were going to be the voice of the Warbirds. Is that correct there?
Yes, sir. So the Amarillo Warbirds, I'm gonna have to start charging them commission now that we mentioned them. That season starts in March. It's kind of like the Venom or in the past. It's extremely high flying. It's a lot of fun, and we're gonna bring a lot of excitement. So Amarillo Warbird football, that's a free game. Leif, Kathy, all you guys, that's a free plug for you guys. So
Yes,
it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yes, sir.
And
don't talk to me about taxes there though, because I'm gonna be busy watching some football.
Yeah, don't for sure on that. Yeah, startup league and everything, and hope they're successful. I know they've made several runs at it and everything.
So the NAL is really successful. They've got several teams that the Venom used to play, and there's one team, the Omaha Beef, that they never have won in Amarillo. So we're looking to continue that rivalry and send it back with another loss. So it's going to be a great time.
It's very fun. I've actually, I think last time I'd seen the game was back when they were the Dusters, and actually, you think about college, maybe could make pro level speed in the size of a basketball arena, and it's pretty intense. I was actually very impressed with the hockey, at the Civic Center, and
they've got the hockey. You can make a catch and flip over it.
Flip over it. It is insane. Something to check out, and good luck with that and calling those games. And stuff. And I know, like I said, you do Phillips and everything. I'm sure they're very appreciative of what you do for them. Done a little bit myself and everything. So it works out. And by the way, you'll have volleyball next year. I'm just letting you know that. Anyway, we'll move on to how do you handle disagreements between personal views and constituent input?
So I think it's important. I mean, there's always going to be disagreements in life. I mean, it's in our own families, in our own homes. I mean, there's always going to be disagreement. It's how you handle it. So we've got to listen carefully and respectfully. We've got to leave emotion at the door. In this day and age, there's so many people just turn it to 11 so quick, and they get so mad. Facebook blocks and never talk to me again type of thing. And sometimes things do get heated, but you have to have a respectful debate. You have to know that you might not agree at the end of the debate conversation, and that's okay. They say in county government there's 254 counties in Texas, and when there's a problem that they'll send out, there's going to be 254 solutions. And so even at the governmental level, we're not going to agree. Even on Commissioner's Court, we don't agree on everything. We just have to remember that we are there for unity, not uniformity, but unity. And at the end of the day, we're all trying to better this county, better this area, and we might not agree, but we still have the same purpose, and that's all right. And so, discussions and disagreements lead to solutions, and I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to have disagreements because, if we had uniformity, we only need one person on the Commissioner's Court. We don't need the discussions, but we need those discussions and the disagreements. And whenever there's a concern, I want them to know that no matter what their political affiliation, what their belief, what their solution is, even if we disagree, they're always going to have a seat at my table. They're always going to be able to approach me and talk. And we might not agree, but I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to vilify you. And if we need to talk later, I'm always open.
Okay, the next question. What do you want your legacy to be as commissioner?
So as I've said, it almost sounds like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. Like, I love this community. I love serving it. And so I really don't do this to try to bring about a legacy, but I want people to know that I'm true to my word. I'm genuine. And the friendships that I've met here, or that I've developed here with people that I might not have met otherwise, I love them. And that's the greatest blessing for me. So I want people to know that our friendships are genuine. I've worked hard with integrity, with transparency, just being honest with people, just showing up and being present. And at the end of whatever God has called me to do for this county, at the end of that, I just want people to know that I left Hutchinson County. I strive to leave Hutchinson County better than when I started.
Okay, and next to the last question, why should voters trust you with this office? I think you've talked about that for the 35 minutes we've been on here, but anything else you want to add?
But yeah, I will tell. I mean, I'll kind of turn and just address them directly and just say, a lot of you have trusted me in the past with this office, and I don't take that lightly. I don't take that for granted. As I said just a couple of minutes ago, the friendships that we've developed, the bonds that we developed, those are real, and I've loved every minute of it. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, reach out. I mean, I'm super accessible. But at the end of this campaign, it's easy in a campaign to tell people, trust me, I love you, our bonds are good, our friendship's good. But even, win or lose, being county commissioner, I want you to trust me that I'm not taking it for granted. I'm serious when I say that our bonds are real. And I hope that you trust me again. We've got a lot of work to do. The property values are leveling out. The economic times are getting a lot better, but there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of progress that I want to be seeing. And I just hope that you trust me again. I thank you all.
Final thoughts and social media contact information.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've loved every minute of this. God has really blessed me with this position and what I've been able to do for the taxpayers. And so I do want to ask your vote for commissioner again, re-election. I humbly ask that. You can find me, like I said, my phone number is 395-5006. You can find me on Facebook, Chris Prock, County Commissioner Precinct 4. Go to CommissionerProck.com. We're going to be updating that during the campaign with endorsements, testimonials, issues, the election information, everything you need to know, you can find at CommissionerProck.com. But I just appreciate you and the time you've given me to kind of voice my vision for people.
Well, in turn, I was going to tell you, thank you for coming on the podcast and getting your message out. Going to be a good race. Like I said, I give all the candidates fair shot. This is basically a promotional video to help the candidates out and get folks to see more than just a name on a ballot, that they get to actually hear the person, and the candidates get the same questions. I mean, the different position, I had different questions for Kim Perez earlier, but the same questions for the same position. That's just a fair way of doing it. And I want to thank you for coming out. Thank Icy Bites for hosting us. And that, hell, I was going to say something else. I'm going to lose my train of thought. And I just appreciate them for hosting it. Thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon doing this podcast. Greatly appreciated. And I wish you good luck in your race. And basically, it's kind of, because there's no Democrats, you win the primary, you win the spot, because there's no Democrats to run off to go against in November. So whoever wins in March, don't take office till next January. So it's kind of our dynamic and everything. So we're going to go ahead. Thank you for watching the Hutchinson County podcast. Our goal is to provide fair, balanced conversations and equal access to candidates across the ballot, helping inform voters here in Hutchinson County. So we're going to say, for Chris Prock and myself, we are out of here.